I want to reflect for a minute before I begin on this update on what it means to be a leader in the Jewish community and how much time and energy is spent by those who claim to be in leadership roles trying to figure out how to give the market what we believe the market is most eager to receive. And I'm sure we're all engaged in that and responding to customer service issues and to the desires of parents and families, to donors and funders, and to those that stimulate us in conversation in the community all the time. But there is a difference between being customer service oriented and aspiring to fulfill a need that the community claims that it has, and being a leader or being a shepherd. Because our goal shouldn't be to become the perfect reflection of what the community believes that it wants. Our goal should be to help a community find things that it never imagined it could find, to establish for ourselves vision and opportunity that enables them to become more than what they think they want and more than what they think they can expect to be. And therefore, it's incumbent upon us not only to see and engage what the wishes are out there, but to help see if we can expose people to things that they hadn't previously imagined were possible. I tell you that, broadly speaking, our profile is up. We are aggressively pursuing new sources of revenue. I can tell you that in Jennifer Mamlet's first full year, we saw outside major gift philanthropy go up from $3.25 to $4 million, and we are barely out of the gate. And those of you who are involved in fundraising, and I don't think there's a person in this room that isn't know that major philanthropy is not an instant gratification business. This kind of progress on the back of basically immediate work out in the field is indicative of a remarkable amount of opportunity that lies ahead. In addition to what we're doing in major gifts, we have a new plan that we are rolling out on corporate philanthropy, evolving what has been traditionally our preferred vendor program, which was an underperforming and underserving resource, to a program of corporate partnerships. We've started with our flagship, the great people at Coca-Cola, who this year will provide more support than in any single year in the history of their 30-year relationship with us. And we are embarking on work with several other name brand corporations with the intention that we not only bring significant sponsorship dollars continentally and to the big public events, but that we drive sponsorship into the local communities and create a culture in which we will be able to assist you in bringing sponsorship, corporate dollars to bear in support of local efforts and the local JCC programs and activities. It's building block and a reminder that the operating model at the association for a generation or more was all-purpose portfolio consultants on the payroll, assigned each one to a JCC, or to a large number of JCCs, as the case may be, to be a primary point of contact. There was no way we could have enough consulting talent to service a wide, diverse, and evolving field, and yet the quality expertise that we need needn't be at 528th Avenue in New York or at our small satellites. The talent is where you are out in the field. So the revised model of J Experience is that we're going to become the conductors of a symphony orchestra. Gabe Most will be the conductor. His job is to know where the talent is and how to access it, so that if the question comes from Wilmington and the answer is in Windsor, we know who to call in Windsor to make the connection, get out of the way, and enable the assistance and support to be provided, and then to unpack what was learned from it. It's going to take a little bit of time for us to figure it out, but it's not a zero-sum game. We know plenty already regarding initial deployment and initial opportunity, and I expect that, notwithstanding the fact that this is already Gabe's second day or third day, that we're going to begin to see implementation in the early weeks of his tenure as we look to respond to whatever issues, questions, or challenges you may have or your teams may have. And if the answer isn't in the field, then it's our job to go outside the field and get it in a cost-effective way for you. As we continue our work to curate the opportunities to provide funding to the field, we are also curating the major and mega foundations and what their programmatic and community building interests are so that we can begin to make matches. It's early, but we're out of the gate. And I just want to give you a very quick inventory of what's happened in the last 15 or so months. 18 months, depending. In arts and culture, with help from Marvin Pertzik and the Covenant Foundation, we have put $180,000 already into the field, supporting 62 JCCs, providing gatherings and training, creating a consulting faculty that will in time mirror that of the Sheva Center for Early Childhood Education, and beginning the development of signature arts initiatives and re-granting of program grants in that area out to the field. Stay tuned for more at J Summit in Milwaukee in May. I already talked briefly about J on Wheels and bringing programs out beyond the walls. Last year's Innovation Incubator created a $65,000 set of grants and an opportunity to expand that number. The Avichai Foundation, recently having retired or is in the process now of closing its doors, continued to provide new money for chizuk, educational Jewish life and learning professional development capacity for our overnight camps. We have recently announced a major grant from the Crown Family Philanthropies in support of our work with Beit Izzy Shapiro on strengthening inclusion as a cornerstone of family engagement in early childhood education. In this cycle, it will provide $200,000 worth of funding for JCCs that will begin working as operators of the Beit Izzy Shapiro training model that should be rolled out shortly. I talked about the Israel Engagement Program Accelerator. We've already put $100,000 out in the field, and the RFP for round 2, the second round of funding for the first year, is in the field. Announcements to be made in Milwaukee at J Summit. Kivunim may seem like a long-standing program, but it required a renewed commitment to be secured from the Mandel Foundation this past year. Many in the room who were here at the 2019 cycle, and a new group, a wonderful new group, by the way, that began Kivunim over the last few days here in Dallas. The Meron Teen Fellows program is going to put $150,000 in the field. You see the JCCs, you know who you are. Joy Brand Richardson secured the largest single grant from the Safety Respect Equity Coalition, $150,000 to launch J Culture, which is a pilot program at which executives and senior lay leaders will be joining us for the inaugural training at the end of this gathering, I think on Wednesday. Joy is here someplace. On Wednesday of this week, to position JCCs as the SRE leaders in their entire communities, not just for the JCC, biggest employer, biggest opportunity, and a chance to lead happening around safety, respect, equity. It sounds, again, like it's not new news, but the big grant that we got at the end of 2018, a 3-year grant from the Jim Joseph Foundation, is putting almost $2 million in the field for the current cycle of Sheva Fellows. It's a remarkable roster of JCCs. Mark Horowitz, who will be here before this conference is over, is giddy at the prospect of the gathering that will take place in February in San Francisco, when the 30 fellows, their 30 supervisors, and their 30 execs will gather together for consultation, deliberation, and evolution of the process that has been undertaken by way of that remarkable grant. UJA Federation of New York gave us $75,000 to do early childhood assessments and consultations. With all of the JCCs in the New York area supported by UJA Federation, 21 out of 22 have come through the door, and we have hosted and visited, among others, the 92nd Street Y and the Meyerson JCC of Manhattan in our continued effort to strengthen ties and bring them back into the fold. The 92nd Street Y provided us with a grant on Women in Power, providing senior-level women across professional sectors peer support, mentorship, training, and coaching needed to advance them to the highest levels of leadership. I mentioned the Z3 think tank, which took place on November 11th, immediately after this 5th annual Zionism 3.0 conference, at which a dozen JCCs participated. There is a new community getting into the Zionism 3.0 business on May 17th, when the Steinberg JCC in St. Louis will host a conference for the first time, and with the anticipated philanthropic success that we're going to have, we hope 24 more of you are going to be able to bring Zionism 3.0 to your communities over the next 3 years. We did a little math on the side of the envelope. It's not everything that we dream about, but it's $2.9 million of funding that we have driven out to the field in direct support of roughly 100 JCCs.